of them. So how can any one person do this? Well, our next guest is one of our favorite guests here on Redacted, and our audience asks for Gerald Celente to come back regularly. He is, of course, the founder of the Trends Journal, which, of course, forecasts what we're about to see many months before we actually see it. And Gerald, welcome back to the show. We had you on right at the new year, and we did our big 2024 predictions, forecasts, and you have the big Trends Journal predictions for 2024. And I can't believe I was going through it. I was going through how many of the forecasts that you nailed on our show back then, a few months ago, have already started happening. Gold just hit an all-time high. So you guys have been nailing this.
Yeah, it's, I've been at this for 44 years. These are some of my books, Trends 2000, international bestseller, trend tracking, far better than Megatrends, Time Magazine. I've been at this, for a lot of years. And I have to tell you, I'm very sad. I'm happy the forecasts are coming out, but I'm sad for the reason why they're coming out. And when you take, for example, we're talking about the commercial real estate. We forecast this was going to happen back in May of 2020, when they locked down the world. You got to work it out in your home. You can't go out. You only can have 10 people in your house. Stand 6 feet apart. Well, no, make it 1.5 meters. People started. They're working at home day after day, week after week, year after year, and they're saying to themselves, "I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to commute 1.5 hours each way.
Right.
I hate this. I'm not going to do it anymore." Now, I'm the guy that, say I have 10 floors in an office building. Everybody's in a damn cubicle. I don't see them. Yeah, stay home. I don't need all this space.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and now these offices are closing down and totally empty. I've talked to some skyscraper owners who say that 60-70% of the buildings are vacant.
Your office vacancy rate in New York City is at 23%. Vacant, nobody there. Your office occupancy rate in New York City, the city that used to never sleep, that now is closing down at 10 o'clock at night, your office occupancy rate, meaning people going to work, is at 49.5% according to Castle Systems. Now, all the businesses that depended on commuters, going out of business. Now let's go to what's going on with how you're going to pay. I'm going to default on the building. And who's going to suffer? Well, the banks. The banks are going to go bust. What happened last year around this time with the bringing down of the Silicon Valley Bank, with the Silicon Con Man Bank, and First Republic, nothing compared to what you're going to see. And most of the loans are being held by small and medium-sized banks. And what they did when the interest rates were down near zero, they bought government bonds that are worth nothing now. So they don't have the cash to cover these losses. We're going to see a banking crisis, the likes of which we've never seen in modern history.
What is going to happen to the average American? Because you say that, I've been saying that here on our show, looking at the same, I'm looking at your trends forecast and I'm seeing what's happening with these small banks, the regional banks, the small little banks that have a lot of these commercial real estate loans. And as they adjust after 5 years, 6 years, they're not going to want to refinance. The owners of these buildings are not going to want to jump from a 3% interest, 4% interest to 7-8% interest rate when no one's coming to work in the building. It makes absolutely no sense. So you can see it clearly, but then you have people saying out there, no, this is just alarmism. The Fed did stress tests on these banks and they're fine. Nothing to see here, nothing to worry about, Gerald.
This is from this week's Trends Journal. Yesterday, Spectrum New York One reported that, quote, the delinquency rate for office buildings in New York City, you ready, has increased more than 1,000% from January 2023 to January 2024.
If you're thinking of starting a business, then stop. It's hard work, it doesn't always prove successful. There is a better way of getting into business where you can buy an established, profitable business without risking a penny of your own money, and my free training shows you exactly how to do that. People often
1,000%.
1,000% increase. It's not in the news. You can't find it anywhere. Hey, did Taylor Swift have sex yesterday? I mean, this is what the news is.
So also, on top of this, now you're seeing, of course, the destruction of the U.S. dollar and the U.S. currency. And this is why, and I mean, you can tell us exactly why. Now we see gold, another one of your forecasts from earlier a few months ago, gold hitting an all-time high. A lot of people said, no, gold's going to go back down. The U.S. dollar is supreme, nothing to see here. So this week, gold hits an all-time high, breaks $2,100 a troy ounce for the very first time. This is stunning, but not surprising to you.
No, because it's very simple. Again, tracking trends is an understanding of where we are, how we got here to see where we're going. So here we are. How did we get here? Well, once upon a time, there was a thing called the COVID war. And I'm not making that up. That's what they called it. Here. This is in this week's Trends Journal. Then President Donald Trump said, it's a war. I view it as, in a sense, a wartime president. Joe Biden, this is a crisis. We're at war with a virus. Little Andy Cuomo over here, the soldiers in this fight are our healthcare professionals, blah, 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 blah. We're fighting a battle. And one after another, that little Catson Macron over there in France, we are at war. Boris Johnson, we must act like any wartime government. I'm mentioning this because every time they call something a war, the people march off. The people march off. Again, 88% of the people were so stupid that they swallowed the crap spewing out of the mouth of a little daddy's boy born on third base, thought he had a home run with a brain smaller than a pea, little Georgie Bush. We're going to get that guy Osama bin Laden dead or alive. 88% of the people swallowed it. So now going back to gold. They started the COVID war. We forecast economies are going to crash. They're locking down everybody. Salenti, you don't know what you're talking about. We're going to make up something new. We're going to bring interest rates down to zero. We'll keep them negative over there in Europe, and we'll pump in trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, and with money backed by nothing and printed on nothing. Okay, let's go back to gold. The economy boomed. Merger and acquisition activity hit an all-time high. Home prices skyrocketed. Your average price of a home in America is almost $400,000. Oh, your median household income is only $74.5 thousand. That's nothing. But anyway, going back to gold. So, the dollar got very strong. And then they started raising interest rates, kept the dollar strong. Now they're going to lower interest rates. The lower interest rates go, the weaker the dollar gets. This is the beginning of the death of the dollar. The lower the dollar goes, the higher gold prices go, because gold is dollar-based. And now you're in another country, your currencies are worth more. As the dollar goes down, you're going to buy more gold. And if you don't believe me, just ask the Chinese that are buying up gold like crazy. And the central banks had a record year last year of buying gold. So the deeper the dollar falls, the lower interest rates go, the higher gold goes up. Again, they created a debt bubble that is going to burst. We have a $34.5 trillion debt bubble in the United States, and it's increasing. About $1 trillion every couple of months.
Yeah. We have a chart that we keep up with during our show with the national debt, and it's just $34 trillion, and it's going up almost $1 trillion now in every 3 to 4 months. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
degradation of the US dollar. Among the other things we talked about or that are in today's Trends Journal, the new one just came out just last night. And by the way, I should mention you're offering 10% off our viewers at Redacted if they want to get the Trends Journal. We'll have a link in the description if they go to redacted.inc/trends. I say it's must read. I read it every week it comes out. Anyone who wants to take advantage of that 10% off can grab it. 10 times better, a million times better than the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or any of those other rags. You guys are doing amazing, amazing work. Among the other things you talked about, so we look at the banks going bust. We talked about gold hitting an all-time high. One of the other big pieces, of course, you've been tracking is the U.S. border invasion getting much worse and what this is going to do to the United States. Where do you see this going over the next few months, Gerald, as we head into the election?
Again, tracking trends is the understanding that all things are connected. So let's go back to 2019. One of our top trends for 2020 was New World Disorder. There were protests and demonstrations going on all over the world. The Yellow Vests in France, the Algeria, South Africa, Chile, Bolivia, all over the world, people taking to the streets because of India, lack of basic living standards, government corruption, crime, and violence. They were leaving the countries to get away from this. This is 2019. Then the COVID war begins. Get back in your house. You can't protest anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So people forgot about that. Now what happened? The COVID war comes. It destroyed the lives and livelihoods of hundreds, billions of people. Billions. Oh, take a look at China, the one that launched the COVID war and Chinese Lunar New Year, the year of the rat in 2020. Our forecast used to be the 20th century was the American century, but the 21st century would be the Chinese century because the business of America has been war and the business of China was business. That changed when they launched the COVID war and 3 years of zero COVID policy. They destroyed they destroyed the country because it was overbuilt anyway, as all booms happen, because when they brought them into the World Trade Organization in 2021, 2 weeks after 9/11 officially, yes, it skyrocketed their GDP. It was overbuilt. Then they locked down the damn place and they made a bad situation very worse. So now let's go around the world. The damage done by the COVID lockdowns has destroyed economies. So people are flooding out of their countries, doing anything they can to get away. And you don't have to believe me. Again, go to the mainstream media, how happy they are in Germany that more labor is coming in because they have a labor shortage.
Right.
Yeah. They get more plantation workers of Slavelandia to work for the bigs, to work for the Walmarts, to work for the Home Depots, to work for the Targets, to work for the Kohl's, to work. You can't own your own business anymore. You got to work for the chains. So they don't care about the cheap labor coming in. Again, in my book, Trends 2000, go back to when the whole internet revolution began in the early 1990s. Hey, you had to pay people a lot of money. No, we got these things called H-1B visas. Yeah, we'll bring them in cheap labor from India and China. Don't worry about it. They don't care. They want all the cheap labor they can to bring in, and that's what they're doing. And there's going to be, when you're going back to the elections, it's going to be the major issue. And it's a major issue in many countries, and that's why you're seeing the so-called populist movements gaining strength, whether it's the Alternative for Deutschland, AfD, or in Italy with Maloney over there, one after another, they're playing the role. Well, AfD really means it, but Maloney doesn't. No, we can't have any more migrants in. So there's going to be a big push in the elections to keep the migrants out.
YouTube Premium is ad-free YouTube. And And YouTube Music Premium, a whole app just for streaming music, uninterrupted. Try 1 month free of charge.
Wallet?
Check.
Specs?
Check.
Keys?
Check.
Fiber?
Well, I think it's the number one topic in the United States right now. That coupled with the banks going bust, we are headed for a crazy 2024 as this election unfolds. So once again, if people want to grab the Trends Journal, I highly recommend it. I read it every week. The new one just came out, and you guys can get, Gerald has set up a special link where you guys can get 10% off. And it's like $2 a week. I mean, come on. It's fantastic information. I mean, really great stuff in here. You guys have the balls to talk about the Israeli genocide in Gaza. No publications will talk about that. They're all cowards. They're all cowards. And you guys actually publish the facts about it. And I love that about what you guys do. That, what's going on in Ukraine, you guys have balls. You guys have balls. And I love it over there. So at the Trends Journal. The link is redacted.inc/trends. You can go there and download it, become a subscriber of the Trends Journal. Gerald, I love having you on, but I also, I'm torn because you've nailed so many of the stuff that we had at the beginning of 2024, and it's already happening here. Gold, the housing crisis. Now, the next big one we're going to be watching very closely is your prediction, your forecast on the banks. And the mainstream media is lying to people, telling everyone it's going to be fine because they don't want people taking their money out of the banks. And the bank runs, I mean, am I wrong? Are we going to see massive bank runs, do you believe?
Absolutely. It's already happening. It's already happening with the New York bank over here. Their stock's gone down like 96%. And they're going to get hit really big. So here's the thing. Once upon a time, there was a thing called a bank holiday. Isn't that nice? Holiday. You can't get your money out. It's a holiday. Oh, and by the way, turn in all your gold. I'm FDR. Turn in all your gold. You can't own it. As a kid, my father, may he rest in peace, told me, he said, son, he said, I remember going over your grandfather's house and he was packing up all his gold. And I said, Pop, what are you doing over here? He said, the president wants us to return the gold, and I'm going to do it. My father, what are you doing? You don't know what you're talking about, he said to my father. The people had to turn in all their gold. It was about $26 an ounce. And then when they got it all, they raised the price of the value of gold to like $30-something an ounce.
Yeah.
It's a crime syndicate. Here, the Russians invaded hacked into our banking system. Don't worry about it. They stole our money, but we're going to come out with a digital currency. Everything will be all right. They're going to make up something. They're going to make up something. And again, they say that they're covered for $250,000. You're not going to be covered for anything. This thing is going to go down big. There's no stopping it. The facts are there. The people are not going back to work. The office, isn't it wonderful what's going on in Canary Wharf over there in the UK with HSBC moving out one after another? The banks are going to go bust. They're going to call like a bank holiday or something. You're not going to be able to get your money out, and they'll come out with something new, a digital currency, because they're going to go from dirty cash to digital trash and say, now we know every penny you spent, what you spent it on, where you spent it, so they get more information about you, but most of all, they can steal all your money in the name of taxes.
Yeah.
So that's what they're going to use this thing for.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. They've already laid the groundwork for it. It's coming. People better be prepared and wake up to what's coming. It's happening right before our eyes. Gerald Celente of the Trends Journal. Again, redacted.inc/trends if you're interested in signing up and checking out the Trends Journal. Gerald, always great to see you. We'll have you back here in a few months. Here's the thing. It's like, I hope you're wrong. I want you to be wrong. I really do. But we'll check back in with you in a few months here and look at some of the newest trends that are coming out and see where some of these landed with the banks over the past few months. Gerald, great to see you, my friend.